The fact that this juror may have been arrested back in the 1990s conducting some type of political vandalism against something, posters on the right.
Who among us can remember how many times we got arrested back in the 90s for vandalizing and defacing political posters? It was the 90s after all. Earlier this week, the trial of Donald Trump in Manhattan began with jury selection process. The jurors were seated by yesterday, and then, well, two of those seats became suddenly vacated. Why? Well, Fox News reported on it. Take a look.
That this has to do with something that very well could have been the fact that this juror may have been arrested back in the 1990s conducting some type of political vandalism against something, posters on the right, and it was not revealed, or he did not remember it and did not include it, and that is why that juror has been dismissed.
Well, I mean, of course it slipped his mind. Who among us can remember how many times we got arrested back in the 90s for vandalizing and defacing political posters? It was the 90s after all. Kurt, you're a lawyer. Should this have been discovered during voir dire, or is this just what Manhattan is going to give you with a jury pool?
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I will note that if he's lied under oath and forgot to mention this salient fact, he'd be guilty of perjury because, of course, you swear to tell the truth during voir dire. He won't be prosecuted because the only person prosecuted in New York is Donald Trump, and then only for made-up baloney crimes. So, this is just. I don't understand why people come to me and say, Kurt, as a lawyer, what do you think of this? Because this has nothing to do with the law. It's a joke. It's a frame job. It's a kangaroo court. It's a railroad. It's so deeply ridiculous and so deeply damaging to our country that I just have to sit back and laugh. And I don't think it's going to affect anything. I don't think there's anybody out there who does. Well, Donald Trump's guilty of whatever the hell this is supposed to be. I guess I'll have to vote for the corrupt, desiccated pervert who showered with his daughter.
Andy, I'm curious about the membership at AMAC, though, because I think that this trial is meant to sway people like the members of AMAC because they're going to see headlines about hush money and porn stars. But there is a fundamental lack of fairness here when you look at what these charges are and how they came about, or are they looking beyond those headlines?
Absolutely. I think our members can see exactly what this is. They know a frame job and a railroading when they see it. Our members are very informed on the issues, and they're very informed on what's happening to Donald Trump. They're very concerned about what's happening to our judicial system and how it's being just degraded based on these activities by these activist judges. And I find it amazing that only 2 jurors were dismissed in Manhattan with regard to that. I'm surprised it's not more, but rest assured, the antics that are going on and what they're putting former President Trump through, it's not being lost on our members with regard to how unfairly he's being treated.
Chris, Michael Avenatti, of all people, said that this wasn't a fair trial. He said, of course, they'll get a conviction. It's Manhattan. But ask yourself, would they get a conviction if we're in Alabama or in your state of Missouri? That does tell you everything, right? It depends on where you're bringing these charges.
That's right. And I think what Kurt was describing as probably not having much impact in terms of public sentiment is right. I will give you an example. I'm in church last weekend. And a woman approaches and she says, Chris, I just don't understand this court case against Trump. And I said, yeah, it's a tough one. She said, and this was interesting. She said, I can't believe that judge isn't going to let the president go to his son's graduation. And that struck me because she heard that. People heard that. This judge is a nasty human being. I mean, this now, that move, it's like this is just a bridge too far. They've gone so far. I think they've actually made Trump a sympathetic figure, which is a tough thing to do, but I think these people have managed to do it.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Andy, that you're surprised that only 2 jurors have gotten dismissed. The other juror actually was very honest. She said that after her family and friends found out she was on the jury, they were inundating her with text messages and information derogatory to Donald Trump. And she said, I don't think I can be impartial with all of this coming at me. How many of these jurors didn't say that? And take a look at this. It's a graphic from Fox News Channel Juror number 2, who is still on the jury, gentlemen, a nurse, Upper East Side, no kids, no husband, gets news from New York Times, Google, and CNN, and has no opinion on Trump. She should be removed for not having an opinion on Trump. Who in this world does not have an opinion on Donald Trump, Chris?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Someone said, I would have said Terry Schiavo when they allowed her to live, but other than that, I don't have an answer.
It's true though. But Kurt, I mean, honestly, anybody who is being questioned by a lawyer that says I really don't have strong feelings about Donald Trump is obviously lying. Everyone has strong feelings about Donald Trump.
But look, they're lying to get on the jury to convict him. Why do we even? This isn't even subject to debate. They want to get on and convict him of something. It doesn't matter what.
Yeah.
Juror number 2 is clearly always going to vote against Donald Trump. You know it. I know it. This case never should have been brought. If it was brought, it shouldn't have been held in Manhattan. It shouldn't be held with this corrupt judge because he's obviously biased. He should have recused himself. I mean, the whole thing's a joke. And it's going to get thrown out on appeal at some point. It's going to get convicted.
But
they'll get thrown out
after the election, of course.
Well, of course.
Andy, by the way,
I don't think it's going to matter.
The Babylon Bee actually has an image of this juror number 2 in question. You might want to take a look at this here. It's shocking. I had no idea that juror number 2 looked like that. Again, this is leave it to the Bee, right? This is a question of basic unfairness. And I guess the question is, Andy, will this end up helping Donald Trump in the long run? Will this be a boomerang once again, hitting the left and the Democrats in the face?
Absolutely. You know, in my personal opinion, he's going to raise money off of this. They are going to turn him into a sympathetic figure if they haven't already. I think this blows up like every other attempt they've tried to do, or most every other attempt they've tried to damage him. He's going to walk away from this thing regardless of the outcome. And I still think that he'll be held very favorably in the opinion of people that want to vote for him.
Well, even more than that, Chris DeGaulle, you mentioned the fact that the judge won't let him leave the trial to see his son's graduation. Some genius, and I don't always say this about the Trump campaign team, but some genius decided, listen, we can't leave New York. Let's just campaign in Manhattan. He goes up to Harlem, visits the bodega owned by the guy who got prosecuted by Alvin Bragg for defending himself from thieves. And suddenly, on the streets of Harlem, a campaign rally breaks out.
I love you, Trump! I love you, Trump! We love Trump! I love you, Trump! We love 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 Trump!
Yeah, this is something that Tim Murtaugh, our friend and former communications director of the Trump campaign back in 2020, he said this was, what do you call it, permissive campaigning or permission campaigning? These people who are brown and black-skinned cheering Trump, hugging Trump. Same thing happened down there at the Chick-fil-A in Atlanta. He says this is very powerful because this is sending an image to a lot of these groups that are told. In fact, there was the young lady that was down in Atlanta. She said, you know, they tell us that we're not supposed to like you. I'm told, don't believe them. You know, we love you, Trump. He said, come over here and got a hug. These are images that are being beamed all over the place right now to people of all colors. And I think it's tearing down this facade that unless you're white, you don't like Trump.
Yeah.
These were 2 powerful wins in the last week for him that way.
Yeah, children in Harlem screaming, we love you, Trump. You can't buy that kind of political moment. And Andy, Lee Zeldin, former congressman from New York, actually said if he keeps campaigning in New York, he could put that state in play. I don't know about that, but because it's in New York, there are TV news cameras there all the time. So it gets beamed everywhere, as Chris just said. This actually could be very effective for his campaign.
Without a doubt, and Lee would know something about turning the state of New York or coming close to turning the state of New York. It would be wonderful to see New York in play. I don't think it's going to happen, but with all that's going on in New York, with all the cameras that are there, with the Bodega Love Fest that's going on there, which was wonderful to see. It would be wonderful to see if New York could be competitive in November of this year.
May I jump in and add, Larry, to that Donald Trump just announced May 11th, he's going to do another rally in South Jersey.
Well, isn't that right across the river from Pennsylvania?
It sure is, but no sitting Republican president had gone to New Jersey, and he did for, of course, Jeff Van Drew, who flipped parties, but he's doing it again, I guess ostensibly for him, but that's pretty rare to spend time. Of course, I guess he can't leave the court too, but just as Andy said, you've got the New York potential, I guess, maybe, and New Jersey potential. At least it seems like he's playing for them, I guess, is the point.
Let's go around the horn real fast here, Kurt. They're counting on a poll. There's a lot of polling out there that shows that Trump's support starts to wane if he is convicted of a felony. But see, that's a hypothetical, and I'm always suspicious of polling on a hypothetical. You believe he will get convicted because you said it'll get overturned. Do you think it does have the damage that they're hoping for?
No, and I look back to the Access Hollywood thing, and remember that came out, and all the little people, I'll never vote for that guy, and then they freaking did.
Yeah.
I think that this will get priced in with Trump. The appeal will be going, and we will have footage of Trump. If I was Trump, every single day I'd go to an ethnic neighborhood and be swarmed by people who love me. Every single day.
Andy, does a conviction hurt Trump?
I don't think so. I think this guy is beginning to remind me of having a coat of Teflon on him. I think that they're going to continue to try and hurt him, but I think he's going to emerge from this, regardless of the outcome, stronger.
All right, Chris?
Yeah, if the American public thought they had an option that was squeaky clean, maybe, but 3 words, Hunter Biden laptop.
Yeah, I've been saying it for a while now. I'd love to vote for the reincarnation of Ronald Reagan or George Washington, but that ship has sailed. This is our choice. Choose wisely.